Chapter 38. Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind and said, Who is this that darkeneth counsel by words without knowledge? Gird up now thy loins like a man, for I will demand of thee, and answer thou me. Where wast thou when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare, if thou hast understanding. Who hath laid the measure thereof, if thou knowest? Or who hath stretched the line upon it? Whereupon are the foundations thereof fastened? Or who laid the cornerstone thereof? When the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of God shouted for joy. Or who shut up the sea with doors, when it brake forth as if it had issued out of the womb? When I made the cloud the garment thereof, and the thick darkness the swaddling board for it, and brake up for it my decreed place, and set bars and doors, and said, Hitherto shalt thou come, but no further, and here shall thy proud waves be stayed. Hast thou commanded the morning since thy days, and caused the dayspring to know his place, that it might take hold of the ends of the earth, that the wicked might be shaken out of it? It is turned as clay to the seal, and they stand as a garment. And from the wicked their light is withholden, and the high arm shall be broken. Hast thou entered into the springs of the sea? Or hast thou walked in the search of the depth? Have the gates of death been opened unto thee? Or hast thou seen the doors of the shadow of death? Hast thou perceived the breadth of the earth? Declare, if thou knowest it all. Where is the way where light dwelleth? And as for darkness, where is the place thereof? That thou shouldest take it to the bound thereof, and that thou shouldest know the paths to the house thereof. Knowest thou it, because thou wast then born? Or because the number of thy days is great? Hast thou entered into the treasures of the snow? Or hast thou seen the treasures of the hail, which I have reserved against the time of trouble, against the day of battle and war? By what way is the light parted, which scattereth the east wind upon the earth? Who hath divided a watercourse for the overflowing of waters, or a way for the lightning or thunder, to cause it to rain on the earth where no man is, or on the wilderness, wherein there is no man, to satisfy the desolate and waste ground, and to cause the bud of the tender herb to spring forth? Hath the rain a father? Or who hath begotten the drops of dew? Out of whose womb came the ice, and the hoary frost of heaven? Who hath gendered it? The waters are hid as with a stone, and the face of the deep is frozen. Canst thou bind the sweet influence of Pleiades, or loosen the bands of Orion? Canst thou bring forth Mazzaroth in his season, or canst thou guide Arcturus with his sons? Knowest thou the ordinances of heaven? Canst thou set the dominion thereof in the earth? Canst thou lift up thy voice to the clouds, that abundance of waters may cover thee? Canst thou send lightnings, that they may go and say unto thee, Here we are? Who hath put wisdom in the inward parts? Or who hath given understanding to the heart? Who can number the clouds in wisdom? Or who can stay the bottles of heaven? When the dust groweth into hardness, and the clods cleave fast together, wilt thou hunt the prey for the lion, or fill the appetite of the young lions, when they couch in their dens and abide in the covert to lie in wait? Who provideth for the raven his food, when his young ones cry unto God? They wander for lack of meat. Chapter 38 is among the most profound of all the scriptures, because of the kinds of questions that are asked of Job, which in effect are asked of all of us as individuals. We've had here Job and four men talking back and forth about things that they were thinking and feeling. But now we have somebody who has written down and asked a bunch of questions which all of us could ask ourselves. I like to place my name in the scriptures in place of other people's names, or in situations where it would be as though the question or the statement was directed at me. So in verse 4 in chapter 38, Keith, Where wast thou when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare if thou hast understanding. You know, I can imagine the Lord saying, you think you're so smart. Well, when I laid the foundations of the earth, where were you and what were you doing? In verse 5, who hath laid the measures thereof, if thou knowest? Who has stretched the line upon it? Stretching the line means measured it out, made sure everything is right. Whereupon are the foundations thereof fastened? Who laid the cornerstone thereof? And then, I love this. When the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of God shouted for joy. Because this planet was created for us to come to. We were so incredibly happy that we were going to come here and get bodies, and we were going to learn the things we needed to learn, that we sang together and we shouted for joy. This was made for us. And he asks all kinds of questions. Hast thou commanded, verse 12, hast thou commanded the morning since thy days? Have you learned how to get the day started? Did you establish the rotation of the earth so the sun would look like it's climbing? Hast thou entered into the springs of the sea? You know where the water came from for the oceans? Have the gates of death been opened unto thee? Hast thou perceived the breadth of the earth? Declare, if thou knowest it all. You think you're so smart, Keith? You tell me these things. These are the simple things. Where is the way where the light dwelleth? Knowest thou because thou wast then born? Or because the number of thy days is great? Hast thou entered into the treasures of the snow? I used to live in the Yukon. I've seen lots of snow. Got about 2 feet of snow in the backyard right now. I think I've seen some of the treasures of the snow. But obviously not as much as Heavenly Father has. Who hath divided a watercourse, verse 25, for the overflowing of waters, or a way for the lightning of thunder, to cause it to rain on the earth where no man is, on the wilderness, to satisfy the desolate and waste ground, 27, and to cause the bud of the tender herb to spring forth, hath the rain a father, out of whose womb came the ice. Canst thou bind, verse 31, the sweet influences of Pleiades, which is star system, or loose the bands of Orion, which is a star system? Canst thou bring forth Mazzaroth in his season? Mazzaroth is a name for the constellations that by which, if you understood them, you might be able to interpret some of the things that they would talk about, they would describe or be prophetic to. Not astrology, but where the things that are going to happen in the future may actually be visible through how the constellations act. Canst thou lift up thy voice to the clouds, that abundance of waters may cover you? Canst thou send lightnings, that they may go and say unto thee, here we are? Who can number the clouds of wisdom? Wilt thou hunt the prey for the lion, or fill the appetites of the young lion? Who provideth the raven for the raven his food, when his young ones cry unto God? You know, all of these things, these are things that are ordained and ordered of God, that the vast majority of people never even come close to thinking about. And these are just the small things. These are not the big things. And they're all done without any conscious effort on our part or ability to control on our part. God is incredible. We need to be more appreciative of all that is done for us that we benefit from.